Okay, so let's move on to the other thing I wanted to chat with you about, and that is the whole idea. Okay, so I've been focusing on really working. This year, like last year, my focus was making sure my prayer life. My spiritual focus was making sure that my prayer life was very disciplined, that I would not go a day without, and I'm not going to talk about all that I'm doing because I don't want to sound like I'm not bragging. I don't want to brag, but spending disciplined time every morning doing my prayer routine. I go to daily mass, and then I do quite a bit of praying and meditation and stuff, praying for you guys. And literally, I pray for y'all too. And situations y'all going through, I remember you in prayer specifically by name. So it might be a good idea if you let me know that you need me to pray for you. We as Catholics believe in intercessory prayer. You'll think, you worship Mary. We don't worship Mary, man. We're going to Jesus' mother, say, hey, Mary, can you help me out? Pray, ask your son if you can. Well, you should go direct to Jesus. I go direct to Jesus. But if your mother went to you and said, hey, Alex, this is my mom, right? Listen, can you help this person out? Mom, do what he says. Like when Jesus is at a wedding, his mom says, hey man, they've run out of wine. He goes, what up with me? It's not my time. And she goes, do what he tells you. She goes to serve it. She is the ultimate assumptive closer. Like if that is a lesson in assumptive closing, here's the other thing. What Jesus' mother heard is his disciples that were with them at the wedding at Cana, they were mumbling saying, man, I believe this guy, but I don't know if I really believe this guy. I mean, he says he's got some awesome words, but I don't know. She heard them murmuring. So part of her deal was, you know what, my son is the son of God. These guys, knuckleheads, don't believe it. Well, I'm going to show them. Just like a Jewish mother, she said, Jesus says, it's not my time. And he goes, in her mind, she's going, I got to get your disciples to listen to you. So help them with the wine already. And so he goes and give me the jugs. They got 30-gallon jugs, right? Fill them with water for the ceremonial washing. Fill it with water, draw some out and take it to, the head waiter, dude. Head waiter sips and goes, dang, this is the good stuff. And he goes to the bridegroom and says, bro, why are you serving the good stuff later? Usually you'd serve the good stuff first, and then after people have freely drunk, after they're drunk on their butts, you can give them the inferior, Mad Dog 2020 stuff, I don't know, I've never had that stuff. Because they won't know the difference. And if you read that verse all the way to the end, it says, and his disciples believed in him. So do you think mama has an idea what's up? Yes. So so all you Catholic haters who hate Catholics, who think we worship Mary, it's like, bro, we're just asking for a little bit of intercessory prayer. So when you ask me, Alex, can you pray for me? Brother, sister, I will pray for you. It's no different. But you know what? You got a whole bunch of people praying for you. It lifts you up. Like when Jenny went through cancer, all your prayers lifted us up. We felt it, and the effect of it was tremendous. So I'm just saying, I believe Jesus is my Lord and personal Savior, and we saved by grace, not by works. So all you evangelicals who are Catholic haters, man, come at me, man. Because I think that, I think God loves me. Anyway, I'm sorry for that little outburst. But anyway, so the bottom line is, so I was reading this book. Okay. So I've been focused on getting my spiritual situation right. So one thing this year that I'm working on is getting more into reading spiritual books alongside, all these other books or whatever. And because, I think that my relationship with God is important, so I need to know him and understand him more. So I'm reading this book by Matthew Kelly, which, one of our books, So he's also a Catholic speaker and writer. And so he talks about this idea of daily routines, okay? So it's really cool about this idea of daily routines. He says here, and this is at St. Benedict. So St. Benedict was really big on a routine to enhance your spiritual life. And what's remarkable is, wow, a lot of these saints back in the old days have figured out, you know what? In order for me to be right with God and to really get my life right, they exercise what they call a rule, a spiritual discipline that they follow day after day after day that can enhance their relationship with God. And it's like, what concept? What do we talk about? Habits, right? Daily habits. So my daily habit, I've been getting my morning routine, but I haven't focused on the intellectuals. So I'm reading this, okay? And I'm reading this book, and it says, do your daily routines invigorate you? So Matthew Kelly says, few things bring us happiness like deeply rooted daily routines. There's something about healthy routines and rituals that leads the human person to flourish, right? That's a powerful statement when you think about it. And this goes, I think it's deeper than habits. Okay, we have habits of hygiene, that keep us not smelling bad, okay? We have different habits in our lives, but what he does is he talks about daily routines in the form of cycles. And isn't it interesting how our lives are cycles? Some people call it seasons in life, right? Seasons are a cycle. It's kind of like mathematical concepts. So all you nerds out there, cosines and sines. You know what a sine wave is, right? Sine wave goes up and down, and you can actually, okay, I'm not going to get into it. Sorry, but we have a way to measure cycles. The beat of your heart is a cycle, right? It goes ba-bump, bump, ba-bump, bump, ba-bump, bump. The left ventricle, the right ventricle, bam, 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 bam. It's how you keeps you alive, man. The cycles of your heart keep you alive. The cycles of breathing. Your whole life is a cycle, right? It's a life cycle, right? So if we look at our business, what does this have to do with business? That our business is a cycle. It is a weekly becomes monthly, which becomes quarterly, which becomes semi-annual, which becomes every year. We all live in some type of constant cycle. Now the question is, are you being the object of a cycle? Are you like the tail and the cycle's wagging you? Or are you creating a cycle where you are in more control of the things that you can create a cycle in? In other words, what are you doing on a daily, weekly basis in your life that creates that cycle? So Matthew Kelly talks about daily routines that can bring you, that can make such an awesome difference in your life. And you know that every one of us are subject to a daily routine. Sometimes that routine is good and sometimes it's bad. Like doing nothing every day, checking Facebook and sitting on your couch is a routine. After you work, you come home, you have dinner, you sit on your couch until, Fox News is over, and then boom, you're back in bed, and then and so you're in this cycle. How many people live lives of quiet desperation because they're in that 40-year cycle of working, not putting in money away, and then retiring on next to nothing income and thinking, is this what 40 years of my cycle of work have gotten me? Only to discover that they didn't do enough to put enough money away or to plan for retirement. That's a bad cycle. But how about the cycle of people that are focused on their goals and what they want, and they implement a cycle on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, where they put something in place where that cycle works to their advantage. And then they become winners at the end because when they look back at the cycle of their life and the routine that they put in every day, it was a winning routine. It was a winning cycle of life that put them way ahead. Here's one thing for sure, and this is something that, rhythm. That John Maxwell says is that we always overestimate what we can do in the short term, but we underestimate what we can do in the long term. And that quote speaks to cycles, because if you implement a cycle, you do it every day, it compounds. Okay, 1% change every day compounds. The power of cycles is that it compounds whatever you're doing good. Also, it compounds whatever's going bad and keeps you stagnant. Okay, that's the power of the cycle, the daily routine. Okay, so he says, this is something I have always struggled with, creating strong routines around sleep, prayer, work, diet, exercise, and communion with friends and family is not something that comes easily to me, right? And he blames, he could blame it on, he's on the road speaking all the time, consulting with companies on the business side. But when you think about it, this is one thing that I've learned. When I'm traveling, I always try to maintain my cycle, because traveling is the worst to take you out of your game. Sometimes it's easy to maintain your cycle when you're in your environment. The key is when you're not in your environment, can you maintain the cycle? So I'm going to find a church I can go to. Like I'm traveling, can I go to daily mass somewhere else? And what's great is that there's this website, masstimes.com, where you can find a daily mass that I can plug into and then, be on my way doing my thing, my daily prayer. I do that. Okay, I bring my books with me so I can do my reading if I'm traveling. It is the hardest thing to do, but that's how committed you are. If you're a workout person in the morning, you're going to a hotel, are you going to work out in your room, or is there a treadmill that you can get on? People that have that fantastic routine in their lives figure out a way to get it in. Does that make sense? Here's the thing about work in our business. So here's one thing he says. He's had several things in his life that, in fact, he wrote a book called Rhythm of Life. All right, but he says, my fourth encounter with the power of daily routines was during a visit to Monte Cassino, a monastery in the mountains of southern Italy founded by St. Benedict. In preparation for my visit, I have delved deeply into the life and writings of Benedict. This led me quickly to his masterwork, The Rule of St. Benedict, which became the foundational document for thousands of religious communities from the Middle Ages to modern time. This book is a way of life laid out in 73 short chapters containing spiritual insights about how to live a Christ-centered life. Okay. All right. So I think I've made a point. Here's the other thing about routines. Like, we've had 5 children, and our first child was just a learning experience. God bless Zoe, our first child. I'm a firstborn, so I know I was the practice child. Okay. We couldn't get her to sleep. She was crying all the time, blah, blah, blah. We read somewhere that you have to give your child a routine so they know what to expect, even as a little child. They'll figure out that when they're crying, your parents aren't going to come because it's time to go to bed. And so what's hardest thing to do is not go pick her up when she's crying when it's time to go to bed. But we read, I think it was Dobson or someone that said, you got to get them in a cycle. So the cycle was you sleep at night, you wake up in the morning. So once she figured it out, she would sleep at night, get up in the morning. Oh my gosh, Ginny started getting sleep, okay? And we learned that for every child, we got to get them in the routine. This is the routine. I hear you're crying, but this is when you go to bed. We never had a problem with kids getting up at night. Part of the routine was we never let our child come sleep in bed with us. Alex, you're cruel. No, because they have their own bed to sleep. Mommy and daddy share their bed. Okay, now, if they're sick, the exceptions, okay, but it wasn't a normal routine where we would let them just because, they slept where they slept, right? That is their bed. We never had a problem with kids bothering us or whatever, again, unless they were sick. And you can say, man, you're cruel. Look, We were never the permissive parents, but we always believed in a routine. So maybe I'm taking a long time to explain this because your routine in the business is everything. Everything. Okay, so let's go through some numbers, right? I'm going to take a little more time. I'm going to bust my hour, but I think this is super important for you to understand what I'm talking about here. Okay, so if you saw my numbers with Brant Swindell that I sent out on Slack. Okay, so I'm just going to write 317 dials, 36 contacts, 25 sits, and then I found out from him, or actually 25 booked, 13 sits. Okay, and then I texted him, he closed 10 homes. Okay, he wrote 10 apps for 7602 in life. Okay, and then he found 5 annuity opportunities among those 10 for a total of 248,330 on the annuity side. Gosh, I wish I could show this, but oh well. Okay, so like mentally put that in your head. And so what I said on the thing, if you were on Slack, is that he gets 10% credit on his annuities. So he's got 24,833 credit. So his total production was like 30-something thousand. But look, 7602 in life. So 10 applications for 10 homes. So if you count each home as one app, which there's probably multiple apps and maybe a few homes, but let's just say one app per home, that's $760 per premium per app, isn't it? It's not 20,000 a year, or not 1,000 a year, or 13. Like some of y'all wrote more than he did this last week, right? Okay, you beat Brant Swindell on a per app basis. Rock on. Fired up. But here's what I love about Brant. He made 317 dials. You think that someone that does this kind of production, oh, he probably booked all these appointments. We probably only did 100 dials because he's got all these A leads. You know, I'm sorry. Heavy sarcasm. I shouldn't get sarcastic. I'm not going to get sarcastic. Okay. So he had 36 contacts divided by 317 dials. So he has 11% contact rate. That's 11.4% contact rate. What I've been preaching all the time I've been in the Alliance is about a 12 to 14%. So he's lower than average on contact rate. But he's the almighty Brant Swindell, Alex. People ought to be knowing that he's the one. People probably automatically know that it's the great Brant Swindell calling them on the phone. No. How does anyone know who's calling them on the phone? His contact rate is like your contact rate. In fact, some of y'all, I bet you, Andrew, your contact rate's better. So you're like, oh, I got a better contact rate than Andrew, or than Brant Swindell. All right, now this is where the skill comes in. So he booked 25 divided by 36. So he's got a 69% booking rate. Okay, now some of y'all on old leads are getting like maybe 20%, 30%, whatever, but it's whatever. I'm sure he's got a bunch of A leads. He's got a bunch of, multi-leads that he runs, but probably a lot of A leads. He's probably booking referrals as well, okay? I don't know his lead mix. I didn't ask him because I think that's, whatever, So he booked 13 out of 25. Or he booked 25. He sat 13, so 13 divided by 25 is 52% show rate. Like if you got a 52% show rate, I'll be getting on the phone with you and going, dude, tell me about your tie downs, okay? Now, if you know Brant Swindell's booking, and I have a video with Will Perry's, and Brant just books it, man. He double books. That's the other thing that he does. He double books, and he has the ABC technique of whether an appointment's an A appointment, a B appointment, or a C appointment. He always double books a C appointment because he knows they're kind of soft. It's one of those where it's like the Minikino, listen, my job is to come over and just deliver this information to you. It's only going to take about 15 minutes. I'm just going to come at you. Well, we're not going to be around. Well, are you going to be around at 3 o'clock? Well, we might be. Okay, let's tell you what. I'm going to come around then, and then if you're there, great. I mean, it's like he's got soft bookings, okay? So he booked 25, but there are some soft ones. And if you research it, I have that video out there. So but he's got a 52% show rate. So now his close rate is a 76% close rate, like 77, I think it's 77% close rate. What have I always said? This is 1 week. But I've always said that you should get, as a new agent, when you sit down in front of someone, a 55% close rate on average, and then a 75% when you get more experience in training and just more experience. His closing rate's only 76%. 10 out of 13, it was not 100%. Now, I know some of y'all saw Megan Yankees' 100% close rate on about 10, 13 appointments. But you know what? That does not happen every week, okay? And this is just 1 week, right? And so he got a 70% close rate and then 760 per home on life apps. Woo-hoo. I think I calculated that his income at an 85% contract, I think he's higher, but at least I know he's 85 because he hit the agency manager level like once, 2 months in a row, like last year, a year before. Anyway, so I know he's at least 85%, that he probably made about $3,000. It was like 3,000 something, based on the ARC percentages and everything. He made about 3,000. So if you spent $500 on leads, 2,500 net. If you spent 800, you know what I'm saying. He still made money. Like, you can argue with me, but just 1 week, a week in the life of Brant Swindell, but where he made money is annuities. Because I think I calculated when you add the annuity commission to his life commission, I think there's total like $13,000, right? So this is where it's like, hey, what's up? What up, gang? How many of y'all don't even ask for annuities? Man, he makes a ton of money on annuities. Like, can you imagine $2 million? Here's like at his level, if he wrote $2 million, which I think he did last year, $2 million times, let's just ballpark 0.04% credit on, that's $80,000 of commissionable premium times 0.85, 68,000. So maybe $70,000. Can you imagine making $70,000 on $2 million of annuity? It's kind of how you do it. So don't get too enamored. It's just 1 week. But some of y'all, like as evidenced by your activity reports, okay, 317 dials divided by, you do it 317, but you're doing it in 6 weeks. So 6 weeks, so let's divide everything by 6 weeks. So 317, so some of y'all that do $50 a week, right? And so 36 divided by 6 is 6. So you're making 6 contacts, right? And let's say you do have a strong booking rate, probably not, but 6 times, I'm sorry, man, 6 times 0.69. So let's say you book 4. Okay, let's just say that you're as good as Brant on the booking. So 13 divided by 6. You sit on 2. And then you probably close 1. So you close 1. 1 closed. And your premium on that was what? 1 closed, $760. Even if you close 2. If you did it in 6 weeks, see what Brant has figured out is how to do what you've done in 6 weeks in 1 week. And this is where we get to that cycle, the daily routine, the weekly routine, and that cycle. Here's what Brant does. He books appointments. He starts booking on Friday, Wednesday night and Friday for Friday, Saturday. Okay, he books 10 on Friday, 10 on Saturday, and then if he has to go on the Sunday, he'll book 5 on Sunday. Again, going back to that video with Will Perry's who rode with Brant. So today, like Thursday, is his dial day. Primarily, he'll start Wednesday and then book up. He doesn't leave. He doesn't get off the phone until he has 25 appointments booked. Okay, so now his cycle, his routine is 6 times yours. So God is no respecter of persons. If you amped up yours by 6 times, you will do, if you do 317 dials, man, so some good's going to happen instead of doing 52 dials. Does that make sense? Here's my point. My point is you focus and amp up the time you have. And here's the problem. Brant has urgency to utilize all his time. Here's the interesting thing, is that you have the same amount of time as Brant. Brant isn't Flash, okay? Okay, I know, I'm going into the DC Comics universe, sorry, for all you Marvel fans out there. But he's not Flash. He's got the same amount of time you do. So my question is, what are you doing with your time? Are you full-time with us? Are you part-time? Right? Because some of y'all that are full-time are acting like part-time. Full-time is, what, booking 20 appointments a week, 25 appointments a week, if you're fanatical. If it took 500 dials, someone asked me, well, how many dials would it take? It's like, it's whatever it takes. Okay? All right, so, gosh, I wish I had my whiteboard. I wish I had my whiteboard because this is really frustrating. Okay, so here's one thing that I thought, the visual of it, I don't got time to do it. I'm going to do it when I have my stupid whiteboard back up. But here's the deal. Compress from what you're doing in 6 weeks into 1 week. But here's the thing, like, okay, so, okay, now I'm going to get more realistic, and I'm not going to expect you to do 317 dials if you've only done 50. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Your cycle this week, okay, what is your cycle? Let's say that it takes 1 hour to book 2 appointments, okay? This goes back to what Doug Becker talks about, is 10 hours to book 20. So if you've got 1 hour to book 2, where are you going to place that routine, that weekly routine of that 1 hour dialing to book 2 appointments in your calendar? All right. Can you put 2 1-hour sessions together? So 2 1-hour sessions is a 2-hour session, should be about 4 appointments. Okay. So where are you going to put that in your weekly routine of dialing? Remember, you got to adhere to the 24-48-hour rule. So think of so like get a sticky note, and on your sticky note, write 2-hour block. And where are you going to put that sticky note in your calendar? Because you should get 4 appointments. Okay, so if you want more than 4, let's say the most you've ever booked in your life is 10 appointments in a week. Well, that's the most, but do you do that every week? No, you don't. So my question then is, how can we get you doing your cycle to amp your cycle up to do 10 per week every week instead of 5 per week 1 week, 2 the next, 3 the next? Okay, here's the let me help you solve that problem. Get that sticky note. You got a 2-hour sticky note block. You've got 5 of them to book 10 appointments. So where are you going to book? Where are you going to put those 5 sticky notes in your calendar? Do you think you can do a 2-hour block in the morning? Maybe 1 at noon, right? 1 at 3 to 5, maybe 1 at 6 to 8. That's 4 sticky notes that you put in that one day. Now you have 1 more sticky note. Maybe it's the following morning. And you're running that day, but you're booking, again, for that morning for the next day, the next 2 days. Boom. You put the time in, you put your job time in when you're dialing, and now if you put that in your routine week after week after week after week after week, where you are your dial days Thursday and Friday morning, that nothing else happens with those 5 sticky notes on those days, because you know you're going to be booking Friday and Saturday for your 10 appointments, or Friday, Saturday, maybe spill over into Sunday or Monday, whatever. Do you get my point? I'm not trying to get you to do 25 appointments a week. I'm just trying for you to consistently get your personal best. What is the best number of dials, the best number of appointments in your week? If I can get you to get that every week, well, the most I've done is 3 appointments. Awesome. Can I get you to do 3 appointments a week every week? So what's 3 appointments? 3 appointments is what, 1.5 sticky notes with that 2-hour block. So when are you going to put those 1.5 sticky notes? Okay. You tear the sticky note in half. Are you going to stick, okay, where are you going to put those? Can you do that week after week after week? Now you're going to have to get leads, because you got to feed the habit. You got to feed the cycle. Does that make sense? So I'm asking you to get in the cycle, get in a cycle, take advantage of this kind of stuff that saints have known for eons, right? To get into the cycle of life. The cycle of life in our business is booking appointments, running appointments, attending our hotspot meetings, and plugging into our webinar calls. Okay, that's also part of your cycle. Okay, so duplicating the cycle of our top people starts with you getting there. You don't got to do it tomorrow. You don't got to do it, but you got to do something. Get it into your cycle, right? Anyway, I wish I had my whiteboard. Anyway, gang, I hope that made sense. I know this went a little long, but I just wanted to make a point with you. Man, God bless everybody. Like, let me know how I can help you put this in your cycle of your life, right? Let me know. And then also let me know if you need me to pray for you, because I will. I mean, I do, but if there's some specific thing you want me to pray for you, I will do that, because I spent a lot of time doing that. So anyway, man, rock on. God bless. Get on the leaderboard next week, okay? Please get on the leaderboard. Rock on, man. See you guys later.